They walked away with him the very day I believed I'd be happy forever. They thought they'd broken me. They didn't count on one thing. I was learning to turn a heart smashed into 1,000 pieces, into fuel. I still remember that day like a scar that never fades. The air smelled like rain, soft and clean, and she smiled at me in the morning, that same smile I thought would be the start of the rest of my life. By evening she was gone. And she didn't leave alone. He was supposed to be my best friend. We grew up together, shared secrets, dreams, even failures. When I introduced her to him, I thought I was bringing two people I loved closer together. Turns out, I was handing him my entire world, and watching him steal it. No note. No goodbye. Just silence, the kind that eats you alive from the inside. At first, I didn't even feel anger. Just emptiness. You know that kind of silence after an explosion, where everything's ringing but you can't hear anything? That was me. For weeks. I stopped going out. Stopped answering calls. My apartment looked like a graveyard of memories, her perfume still on the pillow, her coffee mug on the table, her laughter echoing in my head every night. But one night, something changed. I saw a picture of them online. Smiling. Happy. Free. As if I never existed. That moment, something inside me snapped. Not in rage, in realization. I whispered to myself, if pain is all I've got left, I'm gonna make it count. So I started running. Not away, towards something. Every morning at 5 a.m. I ran through the city, through the same streets we used to walk together. Each step burned, but I kept going. Because I needed the pain to mean something. Then I started reading, about business, psychology, success, control. I didn't just want to move on. I wanted to evolve. I wanted to rise so high that one day if they ever looked up, they'd see me above them, untouchable. I quit my dead-end job. Everyone said I was crazy. Maybe I was. But I was done living small. I used my savings to start an online store, selling gym gear and streetwear. I didn't know what I was doing at first, but I learned. Every mistake taught me more than any class could. While they were busy enjoying their new life, I was rebuilding mine, brick by brick, night by night. My friends went out drinking. I stayed in, designing logos, editing ads, shipping boxes from my living room. 3 months in, nothing. No sales. No results. But I didn't stop. Because pain had become my discipline. Then one morning I woke up to a notification. You've received a payment, $79.99. My first sale. It felt like lightning through my veins. Not because of the money, but because it was proof. Proof that I could create something from nothing. Proof that I didn't need her. Or him. Or anyone. From that moment on, I went all in. I studied marketing, strategy, design, 12 hours a day, sometimes more. My body ached, my eyes burned, but I didn't care. Because every bit of pain, every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, it was turning me into something stronger. Months passed. Orders grew. I hired help. Rented an office. By the end of that first year, I made more money than I ever dreamed I could. And one night, I saw them again. In a restaurant downtown. Laughing. Living their perfect little life. They didn't see me. But I saw them. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt power. Because while they were living in comfort, I had built my empire out of ashes. I walked past them quietly, my reflection catching theirs in the glass. They looked happy. But me? I looked unstoppable. That night, I drove home with one thought echoing in my mind. You didn't break me. You built me. It had been 3 years since that night. The night I promised myself I'd never beg for love again. 3 years of building, bleeding, and becoming someone else. My company had grown beyond anything I imagined. We were shipping worldwide, had a full team, offices, investors. And yet, some nights I still heard her laugh in my head. Not because I missed her, but because that sound had become my fire. One morning, my assistant told me about a new potential client. Big deal worth 6 figures. When I looked at the email, my heart froze for a second. It was his company. The same man who walked out with her. The one who smiled in my face while stealing everything behind my back. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. And that day it was laughing with me. I didn't say a word to my team. I just said, set up the meeting. The day came. I walked into the glass conference room. Sharp suit, calm voice, eyes cold as steel. And when he saw me, his fake confidence cracked for just a moment. He tried to act casual. Wow man, long time. Didn't expect you here. I smiled. Yeah. Life's funny like that. He looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically but inside. Like life had already started collecting its debts from him. And then, she walked in. Her hair different. Her eyes colder. The years hadn't been kind to her. When our eyes met, I didn't see love or guilt. Just confusion. Like she was trying to recognize the ghost of the man she once left behind. We sat down. They pitched their project. Desperate, rehearsed, lifeless. Their company was struggling and they needed my network to survive. At one point he said, "I think we could really build something great together again." I almost laughed. Again. I leaned back, looked at both of them and said quietly, "You know, I used to believe in building together. Until I realized, some people only build if they can take what's already yours." She shifted in her seat. He tried to interrupt. But I raised my hand. "No need. I've heard enough." Silence. The kind of silence that cuts. Then I stood up, gathered my notes and said, "This meeting's over. And so is your company, you just don't know it yet." He looked confused. "What do you mean?" I smiled, not cruelly, just honestly. "I already bought your debt last month. You don't work with me. You work for me." The color drained from his face. She froze, eyes wide, realizing what had just happened. I walked toward the door, paused and said, "You took something from me once. Now I'm just taking back what's mine." And then I left. No yelling. No revenge speech. Just quiet power. Because true revenge isn't about destroying them. It's about becoming someone they can never reach again. That night, I sat alone in my office, the city glowing beneath me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger. I felt peace. I thought about that boy I used to be. The one who begged for love. Who couldn't sleep. Who thought heartbreak was the end. He was gone. In his place stood someone forged by pain, sharpened by betrayal, and driven by purpose. My phone buzzed. It was her, a message. Just one line. "I'm sorry." I stared at it for a while. And then I deleted it. Not out of hate. But because some stories don't need sequels. I looked out the window at the city lights and whispered to myself, "You were my lesson. But I was my own salvation." And with that I smiled, not because I'd won, but because I finally understood. Revenge doesn't rebuild the past. It just makes sure you never go back to it. People think revenge is the end of pain. It's not. It's just another chapter. The one that teaches you power doesn't come from getting even. It comes from finally not needing to. After that day, after I took back everything they thought they'd stolen, I expected to feel unstoppable, untouchable. But instead, I felt empty. Success filled my bank account but not my chest. The empire I built didn't silence the echoes of what I'd lost. It only made them louder in the quiet nights. I had everything I once dreamed of. A company people respected, money that never ran out, and power that could crush anyone who crossed me. But when you win the war, you realize there's no one left to fight. And that silence? It's heavy. So I started doing something different. I stopped counting money and started counting stories. I began mentoring small startups, people like me, broken, hungry, forgotten. I saw the same fire in their eyes that I once had. The difference? I could guide them before their pain turned into poison. One kid I met. His girlfriend cheated, his business collapsed, his parents kicked him out. He reminded me of myself. He said, "I just want to show them they made a mistake." I told him, "Don't. Show yourself that they didn't matter. Because here's the truth they don't tell you about revenge. It never ends with them. It ends with you forgiving yourself for being broken in the first place." Months later, I got invited to speak at a business conference. It was surreal, standing on that stage, lights bright, hundreds of faces staring back. I told my story not as a warning but as proof. Proof that sometimes, the worst thing that happens to you is actually the beginning of the best version of you. When I finished, the crowd stood up. Applause, cheers, all of it felt distant. But one face in the audience caught my eye. Her. She was there. Silent. Tears in her eyes. After the event, she approached me. "I saw what you've become," she said softly. "I'm proud of you." I smiled. "I'm proud of me too. But not because I became something you could have loved again. Because I became someone who doesn't need your love anymore." She nodded. No anger, no pain. Just two ghosts finally setting each other free. As I walked away, I realized, the real revenge isn't watching them lose. It's living a life so full, so whole, that they become just another lesson in your story. That night, I drove through the city with the windows down. The same streets where I once ran alone. The same skyline that watched me break. But this time the air felt different. Lighter. Like I'd finally made peace with the fire that built me. I whispered to myself. Not in rage, not in pain, but in gratitude. "Thank you for leaving. Because if you hadn't, I'd still be the man waiting for happiness, instead of the one who created it." And that's when I knew. My revenge was never about them. It was always about me. About the man I became when I stopped chasing closure and started building my own freedom.